Hey guys, and welcome back to yet another episode from ATM10, where today I'm picking up exactly where I left off the last time. I'm going to be starting off with automating occultism. I mean, technically speaking, the automation for occultism looks pretty much exactly like this stuff, and if you haven't seen this as a refresher, it looks a little like, um, hold on. There we go. Sort of similar to this, where I've got a pattern provider that's pushing into a modular router, which is distributing all of its inputs across all of its locations, and then another modular router that's going to pull back and then push into this pattern provider to complete the craft. But I think I can do away with this system and use just a singular modular router. And of course, my next step was to move this over by a block so that it's identical in its placement, because of course the gray border doesn't coincide with the pillar with the light on it. It's to the side, and that would not be the case if this pillar were shared. What I also have done is pull a AE2 connection all the way down here from back there, because Create is only using 10 channels or something like that, and I don't think I'm going to be using 20 channels with occultism, so I can just use the same P2P all around. Spaghetti connections everywhere, underground, all around, up and down. You know, I was going to start off with saying, like, if you want to build along with me, you're going to need the following things, but I'm really not sure how this is going to go, so I'm just going to start, and we'll sort of see what happens. I've put on a pattern provider that's going to give all of the stuff into the modular router, and then I'm going to grab a distributor module and shift right click all of the sacrificial bowls that are going to house the items for the ritual. Now for your distributor module, you want to blacklist the thing that goes in the middle. In my case, for Xevious' Spectral Compulsion, it is always going to be the Book of Foliate bound. But that raises a small problem. You see, every time I bind a new book, it creates a new book. So, as you can see, the names keep changing, and if I ever add these to a recipe, it'll only ever work with that specific name. That's sort of inconvenient. And you know what, for now I can just trash these books because I don't need them. So the solution to that problem is to blacklist the unbound book of binding and just let this be a part of the crafting process. So now this distributor module can live right here. It'll try to put the items that I put into the buffer into the correct spots, but if one of those items happens to be a book of binding foliate which is not yet bound, it'll just get stuck here for now. So for that stuck book, I'm going to put down a molecular assembler, which is going to be responsible for binding the books. I'm going to attach it with a quartz fiber so that it receives power but doesn't end up putting its outputs back into the network. And I'm going to use this exact recipe to place the Dictionary of Spirits into the molecular assembler, and then have this modular router send the book into this molecular assembler, craft it into the bound book, which will then be pulled out by another modular router. Now, this one step, which requires two modular routers, is something I have not been able to get around. If you find a better solution, reach out to me, because I was under the impression I could do this with just one modular router. My problem happens to be these unknown books and these filter slots. So if, for example, I'm using the sender module Mark II to send the foliate book, and it's an unknown book, the moment I drag it into the interface, it has an ID associated with it, which causes the same problem as this guy right here. So to formalize what I've done here, I have disconnected the portions of the crafting that are ID dependent, and I'm using filters only on the things that I can filter reliably. For example, this book of binding foliate, because once it's bound, it has a name. Anyways, molecular assemblers automatically push outwards, so this buffer will now have that book, and I'm going to use a sender module Mark II to send it into right here. That can now live in there. Cool. You know, I totally forgot to send the book downwards, so in this case, I want to whitelist the book of binding foliate and send it into the molecular assembler. To wrap this process up, I'm going to put down an interface in the middle there, and I'm going to hook that up right back into the network. So eventually, with a pickup area like that, so that any old item gets picked up and ends up in my network. And that should, in theory, complete the craft. And I should be able to test that by making a recipe for something like the stable wormhole. The only change I have to make is, instead of a book of binding foliate bound, I have to drag in a unbound book of foliate and remove whatever this ritual happens to be. Let's see if this works. So let's request a stable wormhole. The items go in, goes in, the 2 quartz goes in. This book is waiting for a ritual to start. The ritual has started. I'll take this moment to turn my magnet off, and then I can speed this process up ever so slightly. The item gets picked up, and my thing gets crafted. Hey ho, it works. Now I just gotta do that thing again for this one, and I don't think I need to do that one. And with that out of the way, I think I am completely ready to set up a recipe for this empty soul gem. I just gotta add this, remove the ritual thing, remove the bound book, put in an unbound book, and that should be it actually. I did also between clips set up a recipe for the fragile empty soul gem, but for the sake of this test, I would like to craft up an empty soul gem from scratch automatically. But let's do that. A bunch of stuff should have ended up in there. It's crafting up its little guy first, the empty one, the fragile one, sorry. Let's just speed that process up. Let's put in there diamond, the copper, the gold, the silver, the empty gem, the soul sand, the soul sand, the soul sand, and the bound book. Perfect. Love a system when it works perfectly. And I did say I was gonna do an automation setup for this little ritual here too, but in hindsight, I don't think I need one. Because I am going to capture the dragon familiar and kill it repeatedly by spawning it in over and over again. That is because industrial foregoing adds something called the mob imprisonment tool. Now, this guy is a pretty cool thing that lets me pretty much capture a mob in it. So I can basically take this guy and put it in the mob imprisonment tool. And then with this guy in my pocket, using something like a mob duplicator, I can use essence to spawn in this guy as many times as I want, killing it repeatedly with a chance to get my dragon egg. But you know, just like in real life, there's frequently a simpler option, and in my case it happens to be mob swabs, an addition from mob grinding utils that simply lets me collect DNA from any mob I see fit. So I'm just gonna grab a sufficient amount. And then I can put this guy in his little enclosure right here. This will then let me collect as much DNA as I want from this poor little guy. So with 22 of these swabs and a bunch more buckets of experience, I should be able to craft all of these into GM chicken feed. And all I gotta do is keep moving the bucket back into the crafting system. But I will then have 22 of these GM chicken feeds. And you know what you do with chicken feed? You feed it to the chickens.
Happy birthday, Taco!
Ta-da! And that's how you get chickens. Now, because I know you guys will be wondering, no, you cannot feed GM chicken feed to a baby chicken. You have to feed it to a grown-up chicken. And that's just how it is. I don't make the rules. I'm just gonna have to fly around for a bit. Or wait for the chickens to grow up, actually. I just put down a bunch.
Happy birthday, Taco! Happy birthday, Taco! Happy birthday, Taco!
With the 20 eggs safely in my system, the only thing left to automate the Dragon Soul is the Chain of Souls from the Eternal Starlight. Which means I have to take a trip to the Eternal Starlight, kill the monstrosity as well as the hatred, and then put them in simulation chambers. Let's go! Fortunately for me, KSAW the Past was kind enough to leave me a waystone, labeled exactly what I needed it to be. I can then look into this book, and it'll tell me to find the lunar monstrosity. I need to find some of these items, hold them in my offhand or something, and then I'll be able to locate whatever this lunar monstrosity is. You know, I did happen to come across these starlight berries the last time I was here, and turns out all I need is a few of these starlight flowers to get myself the seeking eye, or whatever it's called. This thing right here. And seeking eye, here we are. Now if I just right click with this bad boy, it'll fly in the direction of the nearest structure that houses the monstrosity. And turns out that that's an expendable. I was unaware of that. Cool, I'll just make another one when I get there. Just gotta fly in this general direction till I see a boss battle or something. Now, fortunately for me, I happen to have infinite damage behind me, so I'm not too worried about whatever this is. But at the same time, I have to remember to use a data model on it so that I can farm these. Oh, and flying in this general direction. There, I just heard an explosion in the middle. Is that what I'm supposed to be fighting? Oh, yeah, I think I know what that is. That's the lunar monstrosity. I think it sees me. Well, here goes nothing. Just gonna right-click the data model here. For you. Oh no. Oh, I do need a second model in case I find Tangle Hatred. That is a good shout. Really, are you still using the monstrosity or something? No known model exists. I'm currently taking no damage at all. And I can also just one hit the lunar monstrosity, so I'm not too worried. Yeah, that's sort of what happens when you have infinite damage on your side. And pretty OP armor in all fairness. Alright, and as for the Tangled Hatred, I guess I can't make a model, so I just gotta stand here and whack it once. There we go. Yeah, sort of uneventful. Oops. And here's the trophy. I've only ever seen this in the Cabal ATM10 server from people who have done this fight, and, you know, it's just as impressive in person. Can I change the size of this, or the position? Oh yeah, I can. Now that's pretty cool. Alright, well, for now I'm just gonna break it, put it in my pocket. Because I have some lunar monstrosities to kill. At least 2. I'm surprised that that kill didn't count. But we'll see what happens when I get to the next one. Oh wait, never mind. I'm dumb. I was supposed to put it in the deep learner. I never did. Alright. Well, that's on me, I guess. This is some pretty looking wood. But what I'm really seeking is another boss fight. And is this just taking me back to where I was? I think it is. Or maybe I can R2P. I sure can. And we fly this way. Ooh, what are you? Ooh, cool. I'm taking you with me. And I just got the Tangled Hatred data model too, so this should be fun. Put that there. And just swipe at this guy, and then there's not much else. Swipe at that guy. Did I get any progress on my things? I did. I got 1 on each. Goodbye. Now I just gotta do that one more time. After oh so long of being lost at sea, I RTP'd basically from right there to here and traveled the rest by flight. I think the Seeking Eye has just told me that I gotta fly this way further to find my next fight. And here we are. A short journey later, I got 1 remaining on each one of these. I just gotta go here, and where's the other guy? Lunar Monstrosity, where are you? Is there no lunar monstrosity here? There it is, it just took a moment. This should have 2 basic models. Now that I'm back home, the real question is what do I not need anymore? And to be fair, I don't think I need the slime model anymore. And I don't think I need the cast model anymore. So these 2 can be replaced with the lunar monstrosity and the tangled hatreds. That does remind me though, I have another self-aware dragon model. I happen to have dragon models available here. I do not. I can put this one in here. And wait a minute, it does seem like all of the dragon models I had made are now self-aware. So, yeah, I guess I gotta go on a dragon killing spree soon. Just a little bit of acceleration later. I imagine the ones I did configure would have their predictions going in. From the Tangled Hatred, I want the Tenacious Vines, and the Trapped Souls I wish to produce using the Lunar Monstrosity, because the Lunar Monstrosity just has greater yield. It makes 12 instead of whatever else. So I do also happen to need Tenacious Petals from Lunar Monstrosity, so I'm going to have to configure these slightly differently. But that's perfectly fine by me. Just some for this, some for that, and that should be fine. However, this does turn into other stuff too, so I think I'm going to have one of these that turns it into the metals. There's a bunch of quests to make all of the armors. And actually, I think I will save all of the materials from the new fabricators into a 256k ME storage cell. As well as the other ingot, which I don't remember the name of. Wait, it was the thermal something or the other. Yeah, the thermal springstone ingot. Perfect. Boop. And now, I just wait pretty much. Who am I kidding? Ain't nobody got time for that. I want to make myself the Chain of Souls as a pattern, and then also the Dragon Soul as a pattern. Cool. And I think that means I get to make my very first Dragon Soul, fully automatically. I believe it's going to have to do a lot of processes first. More specifically, have to do the Occultism ritual, which I can just go speed up. Boop. Perfect. And just like that, we have our very first Dragon Soul. Next on my list happens to be the Wither's Compass. I have been reserving withered comb blocks from an ancient bee all the way over there somewhere. The Wither Builder already has a recipe. Hearts of the Deep are so generously farmed by the Drigbees over here. 64x Nether Star Generator already has a recipe from the past. I do happen to be missing the Wither Skull Scroll, the Witherproof Bricks, the Arrow of the Wither, and the Glyph of Wither, and then Nether Star Crux I have a recipe for. And I think I'm going to set up a quick little extractor based setup over here for Soulstone. You know, I could toss it directly into an interface and just pipe it on down into this pattern provider over here. I need Wither Skeleton Essence, but fortunately for me, at some point in the past I must have gotten Wither Skeleton Seeds as a quest reward or something. Maybe I grew them, I don't know. Now I'll be getting Essence, which of course gets its very own bulk storage cell. And then we just set up a few crafting recipes. Just as a test, I want to craft, let's say, 2 of these. That should just work. Plain and simple. Witherproof bricks, check. As for the scribe's table and the wither glyph, I believe I should be able to put down a chest right here with a bunch of wither skulls and abjuration essences, and it should just pull out. Yeah, that does it. It just sort of does its thing. And a glyph should pop out. My only concern is I don't think this can be fully automated. So I will have to come back and constantly click number 3, click this again, select this again to craft another glyph. Can this be sped up? Perhaps it can be. 21 glyphs of the Wither. I think that should be enough. Another one checked off the list. So having disabled this machine, I think I'm basically just gonna copy this entire floor. Yeah, I'm gonna copy from all the way here to, oh no, let's just say that corner there. In fact, I would like it to be not copying the ceiling or anything, so yeah, about that much space should be fine. In fact, I could bring it a little bit lower. So 1 to make the Wither Potion. Let's just say 1 to make it a Splash Potion. And then another 1 to make it a Lingering Potion. And then I can use the same old bottling machine to bottle it into glass bottles. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this little time lapse of me putting all this together. It's been nothing but headaches for me. You see, probably between updating between the packs, at some point the way potions are managed must have changed, and all of these are now different. So I am now unfortunately constantly overproducing a lot of my potions. I had to redo all of these filters. The level emitters were on the incorrect values too. It was all sort of a nightmare. There's only 22 buckets, that doesn't seem right. But that is right because I overproduced all the others. Ay. Anyways, if you haven't caught on as to how this passive potion system's working, I've got Awkward Potion, which I had to redo. This is a different Awkward Potion. And it's going into the mixer using this export bus. The ingredients for the potion are provided through this place right here, and in my case it just happens to be Wither Skeleton Skulls. And that turns into Potions of Wither, which is then pulled out through this import bus. It's currently not filtered to anything, so it's probably filling all of this up, and sure enough it is. That's when I need more buckets, and that is sort of the process now. I'll grab a bucket, click that, set this filter to be not a memory card, but this, and let's just say I want 10 buckets of Wither Potion in stock. and it should emit once it is above 10 buckets. So it's going to keep producing till there's 10 buckets. Once there's 10 buckets, this will produce a signal. It'll turn on, this will turn on, this will turn on. I'm currently probably just pulling out all the awkward potions, so I'm just gonna filter this for a sec. Let this build back up. Yeah, this is a pretty fast machine, to be fair. And now there's 10 right here. But this can't go anywhere because there's no place for it to be. So I'm just gonna take a 1k ME fluid cell, put in a potion bucket thing, and I'm just gonna toss this right back into my storage on a high priority. 15 buckets, that should be everything, and that machine should now be turned off. Sure enough, it's off. I'm just really quickly gonna go right click this bucket here. I don't want to measure the buckets. You right click it again, it turns into the fluids. Shift right click with an empty hand to lock it, and now you can't change this accidentally. Perfect. Next order of business is we gotta turn it into a splash potion. And the concept is pretty much the same. I'm requesting gunpowder. I also want to request a bucket of this stuff. And then export a bucket of this stuff into here. And then since this has no filter on it, I'm just gonna put something here. Just so that the potion builds up in here. There you go, 250, 375. Eventually it'll make a splash potion, which will end up in the machine, at which point I can have it in the interface and reset this. Yeah, this is gonna take a minute, I'll be back. I totally did not forget to make this a extended potion of lingering wither. And I totally haven't already set all of this up and recorded the next bit with the bottler where I failed the first time. It's important to remember that even though these are all different types of wither potions, if I take this out in a bucket and put it back in, you can see it changes types. A splash potion of wither is just a simple potion of wither in a bucket. Right, you see how it says bucket of potion wither, 3 minutes? If I put it back, it turns into the potion of wither. The lingering potion of wither, let's take out a bucket, put it back in. It's still just a potion of wither. Gotta be careful. To use this and to set filters for these guys, I've had to use something like a tank. Any tank will do. I've been using the basic tank here. And as you can see, if I just grab a lingering potion here, it keeps its data. It's still a lingering potion of wither. Rather curiously, though, this guy is not turning on. Oh, it was turning on. I just had a random item in there. So I can then just go back, grab a bucket. Not grab a bucket, obviously. Grab it in a tank and reset the import bus. I could technically use an interface over here and it would do the same thing, probably more reliably too. I'm waiting for this number to go up. That's now turned off at 10 buckets. That means that I can finally come back here, grab my extended lingering potion of wither, and reset the bottling recipe. Like so. Set that to be the appropriate wither bottle thing, whatever. Put this in. And finally, I can request this arrow. It should craft everything appropriately. It should craft the proper lingering potion. There we go. And you know what, guys? With all that progress behind us, and us moving ever closer to completing all the requirements to finally craft up the ATM star, I've got to wrap this episode right here. Just as a little bit of a heads up, I still don't have a name for this little guy. So if you've got ideas, I'm still open to comments. Of course, if you've been liking what you're seeing, be sure to subscribe, because I'm probably going to be done with Ultimates 10 soon. And I'm fairly certain you wouldn't want to miss what I get up to next, right? Right? In any case, guys, this has been KSAW from Ultimates 10, and I'll see you next time, where perhaps we get into a strange world of mods I've never heard of before. See ya!